welcome, Hawk fans, to another episode of Hawk Talk. This is Hawk Talk, the show that brings you all the updated news about your favorite team, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Today, I got to show you, I got a great show for you today. We're going to make it happen. But first, let's jump right into this thing. Let's jump into it. I'm going to jump into introducing my resident guest host. I got to call him a resident guest host because he's been a guest host for me on every single show. The two-time All-Big Ten, 3-year starter at offensive tackle. I got to make sure I say this because it's additional advertisement for him. That's why I bring it up every time, because he's a beast out there. He does his thing. I'll make sure I recognize and bring about the information as it needs to be. The luxury real estate mogul out there in Chicago, Illinois, Mr. David Porter. David, thank you for joining me today, sir.
You know, it's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
No question. I appreciate you again, man. And of course, keeping with the theme of our post-game wrap-ups, we're keeping with the theme of having our student guest host. And today we bring to you, and we won't disappoint. I won't say that. I won't just say bring to you, but I won't disappoint, because today we have a great guest host out of the great state of Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, to be exact. Now, let me remind you guys, that's where we want to be, beginning of December. It's Indianapolis, Indiana. So we got somebody who's representing that city right now, the 5'11" junior out of Indianapolis, Indiana. He actually was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Indiana his senior year in high school, 2019 recipient of the Next Man In Award, a 2-year starter at receiver. He is also one of 7 sophomores that were named to the leadership group last year, which is pretty awesome. One of 3 brothers that are D1 athletes. I'm gonna make sure I make that clarification. His younger brother Kenny is currently at Miami of Ohio, and his other younger brother Javon is also currently committed to Miami of Ohio. So a little bit of an athletic tree that his mom and dad put together, along with older brother Charlie, who's the businessman of the family. Welcome to the show, Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So let's jump into this thing, man. David, man, what? 51-14. 51-14 game. I got to speak on it just a little bit because I got the chance to go there, man. College Park, Maryland is a beautiful place, beautiful stadium, beautiful area. Right there, not far from the heart of D.C. Man, it was an awesome environment walking into College Park. Fans were amazing. Group of fans. They actually had a blackout. David and Tyrone. They had a blackout, and this was actually the second opponent that Iowa has faced that has actually decided to have a blackout game to host the Hawkeyes. Which, it's interesting to me, considering we kind of the kings of the blackouts here. But it's interesting. They had a blackout. However, I don't know that the fans necessarily got the message, because a lot of them were still in red. It wasn't really the full blackout feel like you would get at, say, a Kinnick Stadium, but they did their best. They had their blackout. However, outside of their first drive, it was a little bit of a rough outing for the Maryland Terrapins. I don't know. We'll stick to what we know. Offensively, right. The run game, David, we talked about this for the first number of weeks. The run game, it definitely picked up, man. I was impressed with what we saw. We saw a total of 38 carries for 160 yards. If you take away Spencer Petras' negative yardage, 160 total yards, 3 total touchdowns. The run game is coming along, David, against a 4-0 outfit that the Maryland Terrapins were. Talk to us about what you saw from the offensive line and how the running game has picked up.
The O-line started to, I want to say they started to get some continuity out there. They really did. In the run game, you could see it where the back was the timing was actually really good. The back, when they came to the hole, he came to the line, he was letting the hole develop, and it started to cut back. And he saw it just as the hole was opening up, just before it, like we talked before. It's kind of a short window sometimes. It opens, then it closes. It becomes a timing thing, especially when we're doing the zone blocking scheme. So with the running, we got a really good fit. We saw some holes on the front side. We saw a lot of holes on the back side, right? And we were running, and my God, our fullback, Panama, That he was lighting people up. I was loving it.
Boy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. I sat there. I was like, oh my goodness. Yes. And I was so happy they gave that man the ball. He got a touchdown. He had like God, it was a fullback dive down right down the middle. He came off. I was like, yes, pay that man back for all the work he's been doing.
Yes.
When Spencer was there, we had those 1 yard touchdown quarterback sneaks. He was right there pushing the pile.
Yep.
That's my dude. He's basically like, I'm going to adopt him as an offensive lineman now.
Yeah.
He can come on down with us.
Yeah.
Yes, he's one of us.
I agree with you on that one. He is definitely what I would call a faster offensive lineman. He's not, the fullback position in college football is extinct all over the place. Nobody appreciates the fullback position. Everybody, wants to even spread you out on the goal line. They want to get 4 and 5 wide on the goal line. Like, bring your fullback in and get your lead blocker going, but they don't appreciate it. It's still an appreciated position in the NFL, but they don't appreciate it in college football. But I, for one, am in a total agreement with you. That's a young man that I really appreciate for our offense. He's a young man that sticks his nose in there regardless.
Yes.
I mean, the dude is a monster anyway. He looks like he's about 6'8", really. I mean, and he's already a beast. He looks like, in my opinion, he looks like, one of the Russians from like a Rocky movie is what he looks like to me. But he's a monster, right? He's a beast. And to have a guy like that who can rip off a couple big games, like he had that big 10-yard game like you're talking about, as well as the fact that he's an extension of the offensive line that gets up to that backer and just punishes people. And then you have the quickness of a Mr. Goodson, Kelly Martin. These guys are finding the holes, and they definitely have to attribute that to what Mr. Potterbomb is doing. But continue, Dave. What else?
I mean, you're right. We're doing running back by committee right now, right? We got Mr. Goodson, we got Kelly Martin. We got 66 and 62 apiece right there. We're starting to get there, and it was really nice to see the change of pace, right? You got Goodson in there, and it was good. We're grinding away. And then, okay, hold on. Here comes Kelly Martin. Mm-hmm. That quick change of pace. Oh my goodness. He came through the fresh legs. Hey, I was watching on TV, and I don't know what it was for you when you were there, but on TV, it looked like we went from like a 4 to a 5. Like the speed just went from like, all right, man, here we go. And it was like, whoa, that's a little bit faster than we thought it was going to be. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So he was able to rip off some big runs, and it really helped out. It gave us a good balanced attack, a way of throwing the defense off, right? Our offense was in complete sync at that point, and that defense was off. They were on their heels. I was loving it.
Completely. And the balance is what was it was the most I would say the one thing that really resonated for me being in a game was just the balance, being able to have both the run and pass game just click at once. And it was amazing to watch it, in real time, how everything kind of has come together. And it's awesome, the running game, because that's what we lean on. That's what I was known for. Spencer Petras is a young man who has matured. We've talked about this, all season long, even dating back to last season. Just how his maturation has continued to show as he is completely taking control of this offense and continue to just move forward and move the offense and be a great leader out there on offense, right? So the young man went 21 for 30 for 259 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. We have those receiving touchdowns by, of course, Mr. Goodson on that beautiful 67-yard reception. I mean, the way he made that safety look kind of silly. They had him matched up on the linebacker, but I saw that same play a couple times. I saw that same play where he gave that linebacker that kind of that option route and kind of stuck his foot in the ground and embarrassed him a little bit, But we also had a touchdown reception by our man Armand Bruce out there. The young fella got his hands on the ball a couple times with 6 receptions. But of course, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Tracy, with his first reception touchdown for the season, man. And I'm impressed with how the offense has been opened up a little bit, right? I feel like Brian Ferentz has done a little bit more throughout each game. we've seen the playbook open up a little bit more and more. So Tyrone, talk to us about how you feel this offensive passing game has matured, how Spencer has matured as a leader, and how things are kind of opening up on the receiving side for this offense.
I think that it's great, honestly, just because we literally preach so much to Brian that, like, trust the receivers, trust the passing game, let us at least, get the drive started, just so everyone ain't keying in on the run, because, we're Iowa and we're going to run the ball. So I try to preach to Brian, let him know that, you can trust us. You can, call a passing play on first, second down. And then, if you want to run on third down or even second down, you can still, do that. But I also know that we have to have some type of presence in the passing game for people to respect it and respect us going deep, because that's what will open up the holes on the inside.
So it's interesting you talk about that. And obviously, complementary football is what we strive for as an offense. What do you feel like in terms of how this receiving core has grown over the season? I mean, we've seen yourself, we've seen Charlie Jones, we've seen Sam Laporta as a tight end. Talk to us a little bit about this receiving core, the weapons that Spencer Petras has currently, and how you guys match up against any defense, and really the game plan against Maryland. I mean, to put up 51 points on any opponent, let alone an opponent that's 4-0, the game plan has to be on point. So talk to us a little bit about what that game plan was going into that game and how you guys were able to exploit that defense.
It was just we have so many people on our offense that can make big plays. Like, it ain't just, me, Sam, T. Good. Like, we had young guys that are actually stepping up to the plate and going in and making big plays when, their number is called. Like Arlen, he had like 6 catches for like 50 yards, I think, or 60 yards. And, like, that's crazy for a freshman. Mm-hmm. And, like, some people just kind of overlook that and don't actually, notice or give him the credit that he deserves. And then Keegan, he had 2 catches for 90 yards last week. Yeah, like, that this type of stuff don't happen on an everyday basis, to have 2 freshmen come in and actually, produce, not just play, but only produce. So that helps out with the weight on me, Sam, T. Good's shoulder. Like, we don't have to do everything. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to go out there and have a 200-yard game every game. Like, everyone doing their part, it makes it easier on Brian just to call plays and not to target certain people all the time, which also makes it harder on defenses to guard, because if they're targeting me all the time, okay, that's fine. You can go and target me. Well, then Arlen, Keegan, Nico, Charlie, like, all of them are going to be open. So that's why I try to stress, to the receiver, like, every day we're going to practice, like, you got to have a purpose. You got to go out there and, like, practice how you want to play. Like, if you want to do this in a game, okay, do it right now on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then on Saturday it's going to be easy. I won't say easy, but it'll be, it'll come naturally instead of you actually trying too hard and it not happen.
Mm-hmm. You make a great point. You talk about the importance of practice and what practice does for your team. I mean, if you have the opportunity to work on, your basics, your fundamentals, but the more important part of that is working against a good group of guys on the defensive side that kind of get you ready clearly on a regular basis. But if you don't bring the proper mentality or the proper energy, proper focus to a practice, you can waste those reps. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so you got to take the time. You got to understand how important what practices are and how important, clearly just making sure that you get your game plan in and you get every part of what you're looking for during the week ready. So that, like you said, when it comes to Saturdays or it comes to game days, it's easy. That the work has been done, right? So it comes to game day, it's the easy part. It's the easy part. It's the fun part. It's the part you have fun and you go out to get a chance to do what you have had a chance to do as a child. So shifting gears, we're going to go again and shift gears now and jump on that defensive side of the ball. We're talking about these guys you get a chance to work with and practice every day, right? Those guys are important in terms of, iron sharpens iron. I know, David, you give me the looks and you give me the dead. Hey, man, I've talked about this before. Defenses it's been said. I'm not even the one that made this term up. I mean, I'm just following what the term says. The term is defense wins championship. Hey. Okay. I'm not the guy that came up with the term. Don't get mad at me. However, I'm going to go ahead and use the term because I see the term as a very important term because I personally buy into the term. Defense is a major part of winning championships. I know you do. Yeah, defense is a major part of winning championships. So, Tyrone, we talk about the fact of, you get a chance to work against some great guys over there on that side of the ball. Regardless of whether David wants to give credit where credit's due, I'm going to give credit. He's going to give credit, but I'm going to give credit because it's not just about game day, David. It's about every day during practice. Iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. But we're going to go ahead and talk about this defense. Defense that came up with 6 interceptions. 6 interceptions. Very impressive. Very impressive. I'm going to go ahead and name these guys off. Quinn Schulte, Jack Kerner. Jack Kerner had that great interception, but he also fumbled. Jack, we got to work on that ball security, baby. We got to get that right. Kayvon Merriweather, Mr. Roberts, Riley Moss, Dave Belton, all came away with interceptions. Amazing ball skills, amazing job of getting after the quarterback on the defensive front. But more importantly, are those guys on the back end. David, we dubbed them the Legion of Boom. 6 interceptions on the day. Talk to us a little bit about what you saw out there on the field, man, in terms of how this secondary is playing, and more importantly, it's complementary football. Just like we talk about offensive defense, complementary football. The front end complements the back end. The back end complements the front end. The front end created some uncomfortable positions for Talia Tagovailoa. Talk to us a bit about how those interceptions occurred and things leading up into it and what you saw out there.
Well, what you saw and what I saw, the D-line, and you hit the nail right on the head, right? The defense is playing together as a team. When they're out there on defense, they're playing as a good unit. Right, the whole unit, they're all playing together. You were talking about this the last episode. What do you call it? Tips and
overthrows.
Tips and overthrows, right? That's what we had happen. We got to get tips. That's right. Right, and that led to an interception. We had an overthrow. Why? He got flushed out of the pocket. All right, the quarterback's got flushed out of the pocket, or he's getting pressured. Now his footwork isn't quite sharp. Now it's a broken play. He's having to ad lib. They're not able to do what they want to do. Our quarterback, I call him a quarterback. I'm so offense minded, but our middle linebackers, they're spying on a guy. We got our safety spying on him. And then we're looking at him and say, okay, we know where he's going to go. We're limiting his options. And then, hey, here we got a tip. Then we have an overthrow. Then it becomes, okay, good. We got him exactly where we wanted him. He's flustered. He got to the point where he was on tilt. He could never get back to neutral. After he lost his receiver, his star receiver, that was game over. It was done. He never got back to neutral where he was able to calm himself down and throw a real pass, right? He never got back into the zone where he's like, okay, I know what I need to do. I'm going to do it. All the other stuff, I'm going to let it go. On the flip side, you look at us and what we were able to do, we took away the ball, right? We got into our comfort zone. Our quarterback, we gave ourselves a pocket. Our quarterback was able to step up. We didn't complete every pass, but hey, he was able to throw passes, things on the sideline. We were touch passes. We did to them what we didn't have done to us. We took them out of their game while we were able to sit and get into our game. Our defense they continue to impress. They really do.
No question, man. The thing about it, then I look at it, bro, I was thrown off. I felt like, it was a team that, you look at a 4-0 record, you think team it's obviously got some ability, but we talk a bit in this show about complementary football. You have to be able to play complementary. You got to be able to run the ball. Running the ball opens up the passing game, and vice versa. Passing the ball opens up those lanes in the running game. And it was a shame. I just saw no effort to try and run the football. The quarterback was your leading rusher with only 24 yards. Your leading running back carried the ball 5 times for 23 yards. And they abandoned the running game and they put everything in the quarterback's hand. And I feel bad for the young man because, when you play football, I mean, it's a team sport. There's 11 men on the field that you expect to lean on to try to help win the game. But when you put everything, and that's one of my pet peeves. One of the things I do not like most about the spread offense is that everything is dictated by the quarterback. Now, when back in the day when you had option football, the quarterback pitch, and all, yes, everything was determined off their quarterback, but everybody working in cohesion created those opportunities, right? And it was people blocked up, and it was always creating a situation where you have a one-on-one situation. The running back is one-on-one with the guy that he has to make miss. This spread offense, like these quarterbacks, if you're having an off day, like my man right there, like Talia there, you kind of keep going back to the well when you get down in points like that. And he's already a shorter guy. He's already kind of throwing out of some of those shorter windows. It's difficult, man. But they put the entire kitchen sink on his lap, and he had a little bit of a meltdown in terms of not being able to respond to the pressure.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was a lot of pressure. No sacks, actually. Iowa had 0 sacks on the game, but it was the constant and consistent pressure that just put him in these uncomfortable positions that he had to throw the ball in places that he wasn't comfortable with. So that's tough, man. It's tough having to try and do those things, man. But the other side to that, David, is the momentum that's created with that, right? Tyrone, talk to us a little bit about that momentum that you guys got from and just the energy that the defense creates with these interceptions and these turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head, man. The energy is crazy. Like, you was there. Sure, the energy on the field was like ridiculous. It was like it was a home game. That's literally how it felt. Mm-hmm. It felt like a home game because like we was running up and down the sidelines, like congratulating everybody. I feel like every time you look up, it's another turnover, a fumble, a pick, something, touchdown. Like every 2 seconds, it was something good happening. So when you like have that momentum and that energy going, it's like, all right, now they defense doing their job. Offense, let's go out here and do our job. Mm-hmm. Like let's keep this going because I think we punted one time. I think that was probably the first quarter, and then we didn't punt again until the fourth quarter. So, like, from the first quarter to fourth, that is a ridiculous stat. Like, to not punt the whole game, like, that's ridiculous. But I also think it's because the defense did their job, and we had the ball plus 50 probably, the whole game. Mm-hmm. I don't think we drove it, the minus 25, drove it 75 yards for a touchdown. You know what I mean? Like, so with that going on, it's not much of a hard task for us to go out there and do our job. It's not asking a lot of us to go out there and do our job because the defense is doing so well, which that's why I was trying to emphasize to the offense. When you have a defense like that that's getting turnovers multiple times a game and we are taking advantage of those turnovers, it's a very hard team to beat when you have a team like that.
Mm-hmm. So, and then that's the thing about it, is just breeding confidence, right? It's just the fact that you know that you can trust that side of the ball got it locked down. So you ain't got to worry about too much in terms of are we going to get the ball back or these sorts of things. Talk to us a little bit about that. Really, I want to hear from both of you guys. When you know that you got a defense, right, that you have confidence in, that hey, we messed up, we went 3 and out, but hey, we know who we sending out there. Talk to everybody out there about what it's like having a defense that can take the ball away like this. David, talk to us a little bit about that.
Having a defense that you can rely on that's giving you a short field. And Tyrone hit the nail on the head. I mean, you don't have to do much work out of there. And what it does for you, getting the ball that often and with that short of a field, it makes the other defense tired. So it makes the job for the offensive lineman a lot easier. And when we get in there and say, okay, cool, we know we're on the 2-yard line or we're on the 1-yard line, guess what? We're going all straight ahead. Let's go. Just fire off. Or we got to lead. We're going to grind it out. Let's go. D-line, O-line, let's go. We're going to put it on these defensive linemen. No offense, Big C, but we're going to lean heavy on you guys here for a minute. We're going to lean because we're bigger. You guys are more talented, more athletic, all of this stuff. We're going to lean on y'all just a little bit. Just like, hey, how you doing? Just lean on them a little bit. and then fire off. That's where you get to have some fun as an offensive line, especially when we have a young line like that, to get to be able to get up there and get their hits in, get their fits in, to build that confidence. It becomes a lot better for them. And you can see it with the running game, you see it with the passing game, and it kind of permeates throughout the entire offense. Like we talked about it earlier, it made us very complementary, right, with our offense. We were able to be very balanced. Whereas you look at the offense on the other side, they became one-dimensional, right? That was a big difference. Having a defense like that allows us to be, very like complementary in our gameplay and our game calling, right? If we're going to pass, we're going to run. You saw what happened with the play action pass. That's what it does. That's what it does. It opens up the offense so that we can say, hey, we're going to tee off lane. We're going to tee off lane. And oops, no, we're not going to tee off. We're going to fake it. Here it is, play action pass. Wide open, 10 yards, 10, 12 yards, a pop. Here we go, done. That's what that does. Having a defense like that, having a team where the defense is hitting on all cylinders, the special teams is pinning these guys deep. Our defense is causing turnovers. It allows our offense to tee off, it allows us to open the playbook, and it makes it really tough for our opponents to even key in on what we're going to be doing. They're so worried about the run, here comes the pass. Then they're so worried about the pass, here comes the run. I mean, they're just on their heels the whole time. It becomes a beautiful thing for a great Hawkeye win.
No question. Same kind of question for you, Tyrone. But also, I mean, you get a chance to practice against the guys, Matt Hankins and Riley Moss, man. Jack Campbell is out there just destroying stuff. I mean, that tip he had over the middle that resulted in that interception for Kerna. I mean, I'm sticking to the theme of defense. Talk to me about how those guys help you get better, and how are you surprised with what you're seeing out of your defense right now?
No, there's no surprise. They literally do this every week. Like, we do 2-minute drill, and it's honestly hard for us to get down the field just because of how good they are playing. Like, they are so disciplined, and they don't really lose sight of the main goal. Yeah, we might get a couple first downs, but they are not letting us, go down there and actually score the ball, which that might happen in a game. Like, you might see them give up some first downs. But it's very rare that you see our defense let a team drive 75 yards and go score. And if it does happen, Phil Parker's on the sideline ripping them right now, so it ain't happening again. So you already know that, that's very, very rare to see out of our defense. Mm-hmm. So going against them every day is making our offense better day in and day out, which is, I think you're seeing the effects of it game after game, and you're seeing how our offense is evolving. So I honestly do think iron sharpens iron, and you can tell by, how we are producing in each game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with that. And, I appreciate the fact that, we can speak to the fact that these guys, do it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis in practice, and it's coached into it. It's not something that, nothing happens by luck. Everything is something that's coached, especially in this program, coached, and they have the constant reaffirmations as to what they're doing to make sure that things are done the proper way. So defensively, man, top number 1 defense in interceptions in this season, man, and top 10 defense overall. So the sky's the limit as long as you have a defense that can continue to play this way. But Iowa football is three sides to this thing, man. And that's the best part about Iowa football is so many complementary sides to it. Over the years, it's been a situation where, you have a good group of guys on offense. Every yearly basis, there are guys that get drafted from every phase, from both phases, offensively and defensively. Defensive guys are strong. We have some of the better players that come out on the defensive side, but our special teams, got to give credit where credit's due. Our special teams is one of the best teams units in the country. I could talk all day about our coverage teams. I'm at Terry Robinson's a monster out there. That dude
crazy
around and makes play after play after play at the gunner as well as on kickoffs. I am impressed with how complimentary we are on that side of in that phase of the game. Going back to the game the other night, our man Charlie Jones. David, I've been saying it every single week. I'm going to continue to say it. Charlie Jones is going to pop him one. He's going to get us a touchdown this season. For sure. He's too close to not make it happen. He had that long one, 38 yards the other night. Man, he's getting close. This Caleb Shudak, 3 for 3 on field goals, 6 for 6 on extra points. He got himself 15 total points. We got to make sure we talk about our man Torrey Taylor, who joined us last week. We talked about that, Tyrone. He had the one punt in the first quarter and didn't punt again to the fourth, but he had 4 total punts for 173 total yards. You know, continuing to be that monster and pinning an already weakened Maryland offense, pinning them inside their 20 so many times they couldn't really drive the field, the length of the field. But our special teams is that unit, man, that really puts in that work. Tyrone, you heard me mention, man, Mr. Roberts there, man. Talk to us about what that phase of football does for us and how those guys on that special teams unit really bring it on a daily basis.
So, I mean, complementary football is, like you said, all 3 phases. So if the kickoff go out there and Terry goes down there and makes a great hit, you know, pins them in the 15, that means the defense is going out there already, you know, fired up because they're on the 10-yard line already. They don't have, you know, they're not about to go score a touchdown right now. Or when you have a weapon like Torrey Taylor, you don't have to worry about, you know, when you're on your own 10-yard line, you got to punt. Because Torrey, I mean, I wish I could be there at practice. This man literally punts way better in practice than he does in games. But the what he does in games is incredible. Like, some people don't understand like how accurate he really is and how often he does it. So when you have a punter like that and you don't really have to worry about some certain situations just because you know you have a punter that can flip the field, it makes it easier on offense and defense, and it gives an extra boost for the offense and defense. One play that comes to mind, I think it was Kent State when we got a safety. Terry ran down there and pinned him on maybe the 5-yard line or something like that, or 3-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 plays later, he gives a safety. So like that's just how it works. You know, the more you give in, is the more you're gonna get out of it. And I mean, Terry, he does literally everything. He does everything. I mean, it's top tier level. It ain't like, you know, he just out there running around. He does it to like a phenomenal level.
Mm-hmm. That was Iowa State, by the way, that they got that safety. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, Terry Roberts, he did get himself an interception, which, like you said, hard work pays off. You know, guys that fly around and put their work in, especially on the teams, you know, are guys that are rewarded when they get that opportunity to get on the field. They get a chance to make plays like that. But the thing about our secondary is we make those plays and it just seems like second nature. It doesn't seem like it's something that is forced or is surprising when it happens. You know what I'm saying? So it's just tremendous to see a young man like that who puts it out there all on the line on a daily basis, man, and continue to work through it. Really quick, David, man, tremendous win for the number 5 Iowa Hawkeyes up there in Maryland. Any final thoughts on that game?
The defense did what I thought they were going to do. All right. They came out, they set the tone. You know, we contained the threat early, right? And you know, we are still coming out just a little bit flat on offense. And not to say we're not getting better, we are. But we scored 3 points in the first quarter, right? To come out there against that defense and for us to come out there, especially with our defense playing the way they're playing, our special teams playing the way they're playing, you know, we're getting to that point of the season where week in and week out, we're going against tough competition. Right now, I think we're number 3. Are we number 3 now? Yeah, like we're number 3 in AP, right? Yep. We leapfrog Penn State to number 4. They're coming to our house this coming weekend, right? We have a target on our back. It's coming. Everybody's coming for us. We're the big dogs now. And most of the places we're going to be going for the rest of the season, probably till we get to post-game, you know, postseason play, we're it. We need to get out there and actually establish ourselves as an offense. The offensive line come out there with some swagger like our defense does. Our defensive line, they create a new line of scrimmage, right? They're in the backfield. We need to do that on the offense. Our offense line, I want to see us get out there and just get out there with some confidence. We're big, we're talented, we're athletic. We have everything there. I think most of it's just the lack of experience. Once we start to do that, that was my thought. Once we start to do that and establish ourselves and have that swagger on that offensive line, this team, the sky's the limit. They're really talented.
Mm-hmm. No question. No question. You made mention to that number 3 ranking, leapfrogging Penn State. And, it's always a great, it's great to have those accolades, right? You're excited to be able to say, hey, we're the number 3 team in the country. It's a big deal, right? You can't say it's a big deal. It's been some years since the University of Iowa's had such a high ranking. So, Tyrone, man, what does that ranking mean to you? What do you see that as? What do you see that number 3 ranking as? And how does that affect you moving forward, brother?
That's kind of the only reason it's a tough question, just because, like, as a competitor, you see that number 3 and you're like, okay, all the hard work we're putting in is paying off, and people are actually seeing how good we potentially can be, but potential isn't production. So it really doesn't matter how high they rank us, because we still have 9 games left. So we can't, really think about that far. We can't really say that, we're number 3 and we're all that, because if you go out on Saturday and you don't play your A game, that number 3 don't really matter, because you just prove to everyone that you're not worthy of that number 3 spot. When you are put up on the top tier level, you are expected to perform at a top tier every week.
No question, man. And like you said, you're expected to be able to play at that level. And the one thing, 2 things about that, really. One is, yes, you have the accolade. However, it does create a situation where there's a target on your back, where everybody says, look at them. They have that. Do you want that? Well, if you want that, then you need to go through them to get that, right? That's what it does. And then the other thing that it does is that at times it creates a situation where there's a bit of complacency, right? And honestly, like you said, this is a situation where, hey, rents due every single day. If you really want to be able to have this, you have to understand the work is required every single day. Otherwise, a lapse, like you mentioned, a letdown, like you mentioned, and it could be taken from you just that quickly. So, in short, man, I'm impressed with the number 3 ranking. However, it does create a situation where not used to being in terms of having that. And, you're going to have all the people in the world wanting to pat you on the back. But I do think that there's a good group of folks that don't feel like Iowa Hawkeyes are for real just yet. So I'm glad that we have what we have currently. But long season left, long ways to go, a lot of work yet to be done. We're going to definitely jump in and talk Penn State on the pregame show coming up later on this week. But man, it's been great talking about this great win by Iowa Hawkeyes, 51-14 win over the Maryland Terrapins over there at College Park. The Hawks are now 5-0, and like we mentioned already, play host at Kinnick Stadium, as well as Duke Slater Field, play host to the number 4 team in the country, Penn State Nittany Lions. Like I said, we're going to talk about that in the pregame show later on this week. And other than that, man, I really appreciate the fact that I was able to get a whole lot kind of broken down in this Maryland game. Once again, thank you all. I think that's about all I got for y'all in this show today. Thank you guys for joining me. First and foremost, thank you, David. Thank you, Tyrone, for making time in your schedule, because I know you got a lot going on. Thank you, David. I know, hey, man, selling off those luxury properties, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. And from both of these guys, I want to thank you again for joining us on Hawk Talk today. It's been a great show. Join us later on this week when we go ahead and talk Penn State and we jump into that matchup and talk about the chances that we have against those Nittany Lions. But until then, Thank you all for joining me. God bless and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.